I just presented my 5th report, 3rd to the General Assembly, which has a very harrowing title, Genocide as Colonial Erasure. And as I say in the first lines of the report, this is something that walks on the heels of my previous report, which I presented to the Human Rights Council in March this year, where I concluded that based on my findings over 5 months of investigation, there were reasonable grounds to believe that Israel had committed acts of genocide in Gaza. And I've continued to investigate what has happened in Gaza, but also the rest of the occupied Palestinian territory after presenting that report. I can say that for over 1 year, I've pleaded to all concerned parties, particularly those states who can exert more influence on the State of Israel, to take concrete actions to stop the destruction of Gaza, the destruction of the Palestinian people, to ensure the prompt and unconditional release of all hostages, both Israelis and Palestinians, and to ensure international law is respected. And had international law been respected, at least in the last 12 months, this would have stopped. It should have stopped. It should have been stopped by the Security Council last October. It should have been stopped after the first set of provisional measures issued by the International Court of Justice. It should have stopped when I presented my first report. It should have stopped before Rafah was invaded or before the invasion of Lebanon. And instead, the silence, or worse, the justification of a small but influential number of states has continued to enable and to nurture the hubris that leads Israeli conduct as we speak. The developments on the grounds are gruesome, and it has actually since the beginning the violence, the genocidal violence that I have described in my first report has expanded and metastasized in other parts of the occupied Palestinian territory. And if you look at the patterns of violence, the destruction of civilian infrastructure, roads, energy grids, water pipelines and reservoir homes, and if you look at the numbers of extrajudicial killings in the West Bank as well, on top of the 42,000 Palestinians who have been killed, killed in Gaza, including 17,000 children, how do you explain the over 700 Palestinians who have been killed in the West Bank, including 170 children? And how do we explain the fact that the Palestinians from the West Bank have been exposed to the same practices and abuses, often rape, among other forms of torture, than those in Gaza, if there was no Hamas military action or presence in the West Bank? Not that the first justified what Israel has done in Gaza. But again, not only we see the past reproducing itself in the occupied Palestinian territory, we see the same indifference, the same ability to look away of many member states in the international community, and we see a total collapse of the international order, which is premised upon the never again that was promised after the Second World War, in particular after the Holocaust and the genocide, mostly Jewish people. I'm very happy to take your questions. I don't know what else to say other than it's not been an easy year, because surely it has been reluctantly that I took on the functions of chronicler of a genocide, and it's extremely disturbing to see member states pontificating and questioning and obscuring the meaning of international law and dehumanizing the victims of this last 12 months. But however,